Hello, everybody. This is Sam Houston. I'm going to be representing Ken Kratzer tonight, who is traveling. And this is CamVetsMedia, and this will be our weekly huddle. Tonight, we have a much happier mood than we had last week, which was very somber after that disappointing loss to Tulsa. Army, of course, rolled into San Antonio, Texas to face the red hot UTSA Roadrunners with a must win. Army rolled into the Alamo Dome at a record of 5-5 with one final chance to become bowl eligible, giving a must-win game against a team that had just decimated East Carolina the week before, a team that had handily beat Army earlier in the season. And Army got the job done by a final score of 27-24 in the Alamo Dome. Army raised its all-time record against UTSA Roadrunners to 5-1 and undefeated in the Alamo Dome, which henceforth will be called the Army Dome. So tonight here we have a light huddle night, but we've got enough to make things happen. So calling in from Long Island, we've got Chuck Donegan. Chuck, how are you tonight?
Great, Sam. I still can't get over this past weekend. Definitely an incredible victory.
That it was. And calling in from beautiful, balmy South Florida, we have Richard Miller. Richard, how are you doing?
Oh, Sam, I am happy. I'm really still like on a real like very level after that one. A thrilling victory.
Yes, that it was. And our producer from up in Minnesota, who was on her first ever visit to San Antonio, Texas this past weekend, was there to witness not only the Army victory, but also the annual Christmas boat parade in the beautiful San Antonio Riverwalk. We were there together when the Christmas lights officially flicked on the Riverwalk to signify the beginning of the Christmas season there in beautiful San Antonio, Texas. We have Stephanie Sakry. Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to be home after getting in at around 3 this morning.
Yeah, it was a true long weekend in the beautiful city, and unfortunately, the weather did not necessarily cooperate as much for people who, like myself, who love the Riverwalk. On Sunday, the temperature had dropped a little bit, and we did experience a little precipitation. But in the course of things, we did, like I mentioned, we were able to see a little bit of the beautiful Christmas boat parade. The lights come on the Riverwalk. We did visit the Alamo, which is a must see, and we saw statues of Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie and some of the other heroes. And on Sunday, we even walked up on a live militia a presentation where they were doing a reenactment, and one of the guys had a misfire, so we got to sit there and watch the Texas militia reenactors do their misfire procedures on one of their genuine muskets from back then, and that was pretty cool. And then had a lovely, lovely brunch with Ken and his friend Paula, I believe is her name, and at the beautiful Minger Hotel, which if you're ever in San Antonio, I got to put a plug in. Always make a reservation if you're there for the weekend. Go to Sunday brunch at the Minger Hotel. Can't miss. But this is not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Army getting the job done again in the Army Dome down in San Antonio. As I mentioned before, UTSA came in on a red hot two-game winning streak where they had completely destroyed one of the front runners in the American Conference the week before, that being ECU. And all things were considered, I believe Army came in at about an 8.5 point underdog and limping along, given the fact that they were well in control of a game a week ago against Tulsa and then had a severe crash in the last 4 minutes of the game that resulted in them losing an opportunity on senior day to earn their bowl eligibility a week before. But at the tail of the tape, Army again came out victorious And in the process, the yardage and figures for the game were pretty similar. Army had 16 first downs, UTSA 18. Third down efficiency, Army was 3 of 14, while UTSA was 6 of 14. Fourth down efficiency, this was a big one, especially late in the game. Army was 4 of 5 on fourth down, while UTSA was only 1 of 4. Total yardage, UT up 303 yards to UTSA's 386. Passing yards, Army went 5 of 11 for 70 and a touchdown, while UTSA went 28 of 42 for 3 touchdowns. Running yardage, this is where Army really did a good job on both sides of the ball. Army ran 50 times for 233 yards, while holding UTSA 20 carries for 116 yards. And this is important given the fact that UTSA had an outstanding running game with some hosses at running back coming into the game. Penalties. Hey, when have we heard this before? When Army commits no penalties in the entire game on either side of the ball, they raise their possibility and chances of winning that game. Army committed 0 penalties in this game on either side of the ball. 0 penalties. Meanwhile, UTSA, 3 penalties for 32 yards. Then turnover. This is always a big one. Hey, if Army does not commit turnovers and wins the turnover battle as well as winning the penalty battle, that raises your possibility of winning the game. This was a big one because the turnover that Army did not commit any turnovers. However, UTSA did, and it was a big one. It was a Jaden Mays pick 6 from about 70 yards out, and it was a backbreaker in the second quarter that gave Army a lot of momentum. And finally, time of possession. Army won time of possession once again, but not by as much as you would have thought, given the fact that UTSA dominated the first quarter and earned a big advantage in time of possession going into the second quarter. But the final time of possession was Army 33 minutes and 7 seconds to UTSA 26 minutes and 53 seconds. So we'll talk a little bit more about both sides of the ball in just a second. Let's go over to Chuck. Chuck, give us your thoughts on the game. You know, you were watching from beautiful Long Island and probably had subscribed to ESPN Plus to do so, but it was worth it in the end. So let's hear what your thoughts were on the game.
Sam, words can't describe. That was just great come from behind win. Brought up a key point of the Army football plan.
You mute up. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yes. Okay, as I was saying, what you were bringing up earlier, they fulfilled a key point of the Army football plan, which is no missed assignments or foolish penalties. And I couldn't believe the way Lee just nearly got away from them with those 2 touchdowns they gave up early in the second half. But they certainly showed true definition of teamwork. And I would have to give props as well to Noah Short. His 81-yard touchdown was Black Knight's longest rush of the season and a career record for Short. So that was quite impressive. Yeah. And we had Army getting that go-ahead drive to the end. All told, great game. Definitely one for the history books. I'd have loved to have been there in person, but to see it home TV just as exciting, my book.
Whether you were watching it from a distance, I'm sure, or whether you were watching it in the stadium, either way, it was an emotionally draining game, and it was full of highs. It was full of lows. Unfortunately, in this game, unlike the week before, the highs are what the game finished on instead of the lows.
Absolutely.
Although it was nip and tuck, especially in the second half. And we'll talk some more about that. Richard, what did you think? Were you able to watch the game down there in South Florida?
Unfortunately, Sam, I was not able to watch the game. I was not able to watch the game. I was trying to find it on my on Fubo, but then I realized I think it was an ESPN Plus game. Is that right, Sam?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not part of my package. But what I really did think, about this game was really, I think, Army again, I think responding to falling behind early, only only holding UTSA to a field goal, and then basically, their defense only, scoring again a field goal, not getting into the red zone until maybe the fourth quarter on a Patrick Pulaski 4-yard pass from Helms to give Army the lead. Army really had to, I think, battle along the way during this game. It was a hard-fought victory, and I think certainly one of the can it be a little stepping stone to maybe the Navy game first off the Navy game, and then hopefully a bowl victory, or whichever bowl they go to. But first, it's got to be next up, as you always say, 1-0 here, and then on to Navy.
That's correct, Richard. Very well put. And I am positive that Monken and his staff have got the team locked in right now, focused on what is next and not thinking about where they just came from, although it was an incredible it was a difficult task that Army had before them going into the Army Dome, which I'm going to call it right now. And it was a tall order to be able to deliver, but they did. And the emotional draining on the team must be severe, given the circumstances and what they needed to accomplish. And of course, there was a lot of emotion on the field, and a lot of emotion after the game was over, unfortunately. That was almost turned into an ugly incident. We'll chat about that in a minute as well. But definitely, if you were looking for a confidence builder of a game, a momentum builder, it would be this game, because circumstances align themselves in this game to make Army that could have put Army in a position of thinking, oh no, here we go again, especially when they had the lead 20-10, then found themselves in a 24-20 hole in the fourth quarter. And it appeared at that time that all of the momentum had shifted back to UTSA. And so there was a collective groan among the Army faithful that we were looking at another crash of the Army team. But this time they tightened up their bootstraps. They cinched their belt another notch, and they put another combat load in, and they went and took care of business, let me tell you. So, but anyway, Stephanie, again, let's hear what your thoughts were on the game. I mean, you've been to several games this season, and you've seen some. You were there for the Kansas State game, and you were there for the Tulane game. So you've been there for the highs and lows as well. So let's hear what you thought about this game.
For a moment, I thought that it was over, but I was glad that our team pulled off and actually made Sam and me a liar from last week. So
Yes,
we were extremely amazed and happy that we finally pulled through. If we can handle what we did, and if we can put all that into play for not this weekend, but the coming weekend after that, I think we will beat Navy. But we can't revert back to what we were doing before.
You are correct.
We have to keep pushing.
Yep. Stephanie made a good point, and that is in our huddle last week during the lightning round, we were the only two who broke ranks and predicted that UTSA, God forbid, was going to win the game. So I am very happy to be wrong, and I know she is too. So thanks for proving us both liars, man. You guys definitely put it back in our face. We're just the fans. We're not the pundits or the experts. So, but let's talk a little bit more about the game. Let's take a look at the offense. I really think that there are some key highlights about this game, both good and bad, that should be talked about. Statistically, let me lead off by saying a really good feature about this game was the reemergence of Noah Short and the play on the perimeter by the Army offense. I think the majority of the Army plays actually went to the perimeter. Now, there's a plus and a negative side of this, but when it came down to the long story short was that Noah Short led the team in rushing. And this is the first game since, I believe, the Tarleton State game that someone other than the quarterback led the team in rushing. I'm going to have to go back and look at my statistics here, but this is a good thing for the triple option flexbone offense. When another player on a team besides the quarterback is leading the team in rushing, that's a good thing, because that means that there is some good blocking going on, and there's some lanes getting opened up, and plays are working when you're utilizing the actual option of getting the ball away from the quarterback. And it certainly was working in this game, especially for Noah Short. His 81-yard rush in the second quarter, as Chuck mentioned, that was, and I said it at the time of the game when he did it. I looked at Stephanie and I said, that was Army's longest play of the whole season. But I didn't realize that was also Noah Short's longest run of his career. And he's had a good one, and he's got some more reps in him. And I think that his reemergence is going to be really a big thing for the Navy game. So Short led the team in rushing, 14 for 127 and a touchdown. Helms carried the ball most, but this was not a bad thing in that Cale Helms only carried the ball 23 times. And compared to what he has been carrying in the past few games, that is about 15 carries less on average than he has been carrying in every single game since he became the starter. So I believe that is a welcome break to the pounding that he's been taking on his body. Then we got Samari Howard, had 3 carries for 10. Carson Smith had 4 carries for 10. Jake Rendina had 1 for 6. And God's Power, Nwawi, I can't pronounce this last name. I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher it. But God's Power, he had 2 carries for 6. Then the passing game, we know that Cale did a great job on that game-winning drive. He stayed cool. He's cool hand Cale, as I call him. I found out later that the team apparently is calling him Hellboy. So cool hand Cale, Hellboy, however you want to put it. He definitely got cool. He definitely got cool headed for that game-winning drive. But he was 4 of 10 passing for 38 yards and a touchdown. Noah Short, I believe, is still a perfect passer this year. 1 for 1 for 32 yards. And there was also a pass interference on that particular play, a play in which Army drove the ball 90 yards. They ended up kicking a field goal, but they started in the shadow of their own goal line when that drive began. And that was a big play to keep that drive going. On receptions, Anderson continues to have a great season, 1 catch for 32 yards. But what I love is that Parker Pulaski, the tight end, Army's starting to get their tight end involved with the game. And he had 2 catches for 18 yards. The first catch he had was a huge 4th down conversion on Army's game-winning drive. And then on a reverse rollout pass on 2nd down, down on about the 5-yard line, he caught the game-winning touchdown from Cale Helms. And of note here is that was the first touchdown reception for an Army tight end since 2008. And Mike Evans was the last person to receive a game-winning or a touchdown pass, I should say, as a tight end. So that is a long time since the tight end actually caught a touchdown pass for the Army team. And I'll say again, I think it's a fantastic thing to see the tight end getting more involved in the passing game. And then, of course, Noah Short. Samari Howard had 1 catch for 14. It was also a critical catch, 14 yards for a first down on a critical 4th down on the same drive. And Noah Short was 1 for 6. So, Chuck, what did you think about the offensive performance in this game?
Sam, I thought they did a solid job with it. I think they ensured, despite the drops in scoring we saw, particularly at the start of the second half, that they were never truly out of it, even when it seemed otherwise. I thought they did a great job all around, and stuff that makes teamwork. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. How about you, Richard?
Well, Sam, from what I saw of the Army offense in that game, I really, it was all about Noah Short. Even though it was Kale Helms and Noah Short that really, I think carried most of the running game, because of the other two runners, Howard and Smith, had only 10 yards. Army, they were really relying. I think that's so impressive. And but the main thing, Noah Short, so 81-yard run, the key touchdown. That is so critical for a game, which Army really needed. And also Cale Helms also pitching in with a touchdown as well. So I think the offense, you have two touchdowns right there, were real like stepping stone what Army had to do in trying to hold off UTSA in this game.
Yeah, a good way to put it. I think good comments, Richard. A good way to put it is that when the offense absolutely had to respond, they did,
Yeah,
and that the fact that they did uh, was almost backbreaking for not only UTSA but the UTSA crowd that was there. Now, I would be remiss if I did not point out a few things that I thought were still concerning to me about the Army offense. Um, Number one was the ability to complete drives and score. I mentioned the pass that Noah Short threw that for 32 yards to Anderson that really was a springboard in Army getting down uh, into a first and goal after a 90-yard drive, and you figured that Army would be able to punch it in, but they didn't. And they ended up having to settle for a field goal. So you expect anytime that Army is going to be able to have a first and goal, that the touchdown is going to be automatic. Anytime they get within the red zone, you expect them to be able to continue to grind, even if it's just 3 yards a carry, that they can carry themselves into the end zone and score a touchdown. Early in the game, the second possession that Army had the ball, this was probably the moment where I blew my fuse. And I try to stay cool headed. But I definitely lost my cool, and Stephanie is my witness. I blew my cool. Army had the ball. UTSA had the lead 7-0. Army picks up a first down. And then Army has a third and short after a very nice, and I mean a very nice run by Noah Short for 8.5 yards around the left end. And I say very nice because he actually had to reverse field. He had to run south instead of north just for a moment to be able to allow a block to develop, and then sprint it up the sideline for an excellent run. And everyone in the crowd at this point on the Army side is thinking, we've got a 3rd and 1. This is going to be an easy first down. You've got 2 plays to pick up first down. So on 3rd and short, Army lines up from the shotgun, and I'm immediately complaining, why are we in the shotgun on 3rd and 1? And the run got stuffed. Helms picked up about maybe half a yard. So now we're looking at, and Army comes up to the line of scrimmage. I can see from where we're sitting that UTSA has left the center uncovered, and the linebacker is about 3 yards deep. You're automatically thinking they're going to run the tush push, and this will be an easy first down. You can easily pick up half a yard with a center uncovered like that. But they come up in a shotgun, and I'm immediately complaining. And people around me were too. Why are we in a shotgun? Why aren't we under center? They call timeout. I think Army just wanted to see what defense that UTSA lined up in. After the timeout, It was looking great because Army comes to the line of scrimmage, quarterback is under center, and UTSA still has the center uncovered. Linebacker is still about 3 yards deep. And suddenly Army shifts into the shotgun. And there were a lot of people who let that audible yells, "What are you doing?" or words to that effect. And Army Helms took the snap from the shotgun, went to his left in a play that I believe was designed similarly to the play that they tried to pick up the 4th and 3 against Tulsa. 2 UTSA players did not get blocked, and he got stuffed for a loss. UTSA takes over the ball in their own territory and drive down, and fortunately only kick a field goal. So it didn't hurt Army as bad as it could have, but it was devastating at the moment it happened. And given the fact that it was a 3rd and 1, it should have been an automatic first down for Army. So hopefully there was a learning point on either the blocking or the play calling. But there were two other times where Army seemed to be also in a free fall on offense, and it was happening at the wrong time. Army's last possession of the 3rd quarter, Army got the ball deep in their own territory. They still had the lead, although UTSA had battled back into the game. It was now 20-17. Army proceeded to go 3 and out. And 3 and out included a cutesy play that ended up being an incomplete pass, and they had to punt. And UTSA gets the ball back very quickly. When I say very quickly, Army barely burned maybe a minute to a minute and a half off the clock. And UTSA, the defense didn't get much of a rest. And Army is off the field. UTSA's offense is back on the field. UTSA's offense runs down the field and managed to score another touchdown. And next thing you know, actually, they did not score a touchdown on that one. They had to punt. No, they did score a touchdown on that one. And when Army got the ball back, which was their first possession of the 4th quarter, Army picked up a first down very quickly. I believe on one play, they were already picked up their first down, but then they proceeded to go 3 and out again. UTSA gets the ball back. Fortunately, the damage was controlled by the defense, but you were starting to worry that offense has lost its mojo. But then came Army's game-winning drive, and the game-winning drive had everything on the table, all the chips on the table, all the bets are off. Any moment Army fails to convert, the game is over, literally. And this moment came twice in that drive where fail to convert and the game is over. The first time was a 4th and 1 where Helms dropped back under very heavy pressure and heaved the ball to the left sideline, where it floated down into the waiting arms of Samari Howard for a 14-yard gain and a first down. And then it came again, I believe just 3 plays later. And here it was again. Cool Hand Kale delivered another strike, this time to Parker Pulaski for 18 or for another, I believe, another 14 yards and another first down, and the drive continued. Next thing you know, Army had it 1st and goal, and we know what happened next. So the offense responded when it needed to respond. There's still some work that needs to be done. And finally, on the offensive side, there is still a major concern of mine, and that is the fact that the B-back or fullback production is very light. And Army, in the flexbone offense, you expect that the B-back production is going to represent at least a third of the yardage and carries that occurs in the game. In this particular game, B-backs carried it all of 7 times for a total of 22 yards. 7 carries for 22 yards from the B-back position. That's got to improve. It's got to improve between now and December 13th. We do know that Army went into the game with Briggs Bartosh still out. Army also went into the game with Paulo Gennarelli still out, but Braden Bartosh did an outstanding job filling in. But still, we really do hope that when the Navy game kicks off, that we're looking at a healthy Army team on both sides of the ball. So, any more comments about offense, guys? And we'll talk quickly about defense, and then we'll get on with some other stuff for this huddle.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, defensively, this game was another game where we were concerned that perhaps the bottom was falling out late. But in my opinion, there were some circumstances that led to it appearing that way. For the most part, the Army defense played outstanding. They definitely played way more inspired than they did against Tulsa from start to finish. Andon Thomas, one of the team captains, led the team in tackles, nine total with 7 solo. Gavin Shields was number 2 with 8 tackles, 6 of which were solo. Jaden Mays, who was the American Conference Defensive Player of the Week, had 7 tackles, 5 solo, and his pick 6 for 70 yards, which was a thing of beauty to watch. And Eric Ford had 2 sacks. Both of these were very critical, one coming at the end of the first half and one coming on UTSA's final drive, which put them in a very dire situation, which led to them failing on a 4th down conversion that allowed Army to run the clock out. Some people may point to the fact that UTSA suddenly gained momentum and scored 2 quick touchdowns, or relatively fast touchdowns, and they were pretty quick. I mean, they happened within about 7 minutes of each other to take the lead again. But I do want to point out something that did happen, and that is Casey Larkin went down. And we understand that that he's doing okay. I'm not going to speak to his injury other than it was, I believe, a double stinger. It looked a lot more serious on the field than what it actually turned out to be. He's a tough kid, and he hits very hard. And he was down for a while, but he made his way off under his own power and went into the tent. But he did not return for the rest of the game. And so therefore, the next man up had to come in at his strong safety position. And it was on the very next play that UTSA completed a long pass in a coverage situation that Casey Larkin normally would have been involved with. And so there was a need for the Army defense to make some defensive adjustments in the secondary to compensate for Casey Larkin being out of the game. And these adjustments were not completely evident until the final time UTSA had the ball. UTSA needing to score at least a field goal to tie the game. They were stymied, and they on 4th down, they were forced to go for it on about a 4th and 6. And the combination of, I believe, Cole Madison and Andon Thomas broke the pass up. Game incomplete, game, set, match. All Army had to do was run the clock out at that point. My only concern about the defense is that there were times where it seemed like they were still missing some tackles. This was particularly evident on UTSA's first drive, and then a couple of the drives in the second half where they made initial contact, but they did not bring the ball carrier down. That's something that's going to have to be adjusted before December 13th for sure. Army's defense cannot afford to come out slow. They have got to come out hot. They've got to come out tackling. They've got to come out disciplined, and they have to remain that way for the entire game. But as a body of work, good job by the defense. You shut down one of the highest scoring offenses in the American Conference. You shut down a team that had just scored 53 points, I believe, the week before against a very good East Carolina team. And you sent them home losers for their first conference loss in 25 home games. That was the first home conference loss that UTSA had had since 2019. So good job, team. Great victory. You earned a bowl game, and we're looking forward to hearing which one it is. And we hope it's the. I'm not going to say who I hope it is, but I'll be looking forward to going to Fort Worth in the Armed Forces Bowl. So how about that? But and then one last thing that we'll talk about just real quick in the game, and that was after the game, there was a lot of emotion that happened. Army, of course, has a tradition. Win or lose, we all know about singing the alma mater, and we also know the importance of singing second. Army won the game, so obviously they were going to sing their alma mater second. And when Army sings second, they, as a tradition, they like to line up behind the other team when they sing their alma mater out of respect. And then they move over to the Army fan base and they line up and sing the alma mater there to signify the victory. For whatever reason, when this happened on the field at this game, there was some offense taken by UTSA. It appeared that there were words exchanged between Coach Monken and Coach Traylor. This led to some verbal exchanges and a little bit of shoving, it appeared, between some of the assistant coaches, a little bit of temper flaring from some of the players before it got back under control. Even the referees were blowing their whistles to try to bring things to order. UTSA then finished their alma mater, and after that altercation, instead of coming and standing behind Army for Army's alma mater, they immediately departed the field. After the game, in his presser, Coach Traylor was asked about the incident, and he just said it was an emotional game. And it was indeed that. You could tell that there was a lot of frustration on UTSA's side. I don't want to read too much into what happened, except for this. Pay attention to Army UTSA. In the American Conference, this is a real rivalry that's developing. These two teams have been playing each other about every year or every other year for a few years now. Army's got the upper hand, but when these guys get on the field, it's very clear that they've got some serious emotion for each other. So this promises to be a great matchup for many years to come. Any other comments on the big victory this past weekend, folks?
I just hope Army sustains that, especially with the big upcoming Navy game in 2 weeks. No, that's going to be huge.
Yep.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we will talk about Navy next week. But for now, let's talk about some of the other games that happened this past weekend. Big Thanksgiving weekend, and also what is affectionately known as rivalry weekend in college football. Lots of rivalry games. So, Richard, tell us about some of the big rivalry games that took place this past weekend.
Some of the big rivalry games. Georgia against Georgia Tech. Georgia 16-9 winners over Georgia Tech. Also, you have number 7 Ole Miss 38-19 over Mississippi State, and also news about a certain coach at Ole Miss going to I think LSU. Let's see, number 13 Utah 31-21 over Kansas. Utah is number 13 in the country. They are 10-2, and of course, another maybe the biggest one. Number 1 Ohio State 27-9 over number 15 Michigan. Ohio State is now 12-0. They're gonna get a bye. Number 5 Virginia Tech 49-0 over West Virginia. Number 6 Oregon 26-14 over Washington. Oregon stays at 11-1. Number 8 Oklahoma 17-13 over LSU, and number 9 Notre Dame making a statement over Stanford 49-20. Stanford falls to 4-8. Notre Dame is 10-2 on the season. Number 10 Alabama 20-27 over Auburn. Auburn going to 5-7. Alabama going to 10-2. Number 11, BYU 41-21 over UCF, and number 12 Miami 38-7 over number 22 Pittsburgh, and let's see also number 14 Vanderbilt 45-19 over Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone have any comments about some of the rivalry games? They're just always so entertaining.
I know that Minnesota got to keep Paul Bunyan's axe this weekend.
There you go. Minnesota over Wisconsin in the snow. Gotta like those hardy Midwestern guys up there and those cold temperatures and that snow playing like football should always be played. People in Knoxville are not too happy. Vanderbilt went into Knoxville and whipped their hiney basically. So I would say Vanderbilt is pretty for real. And they just might find themselves in the college football playoff, amazingly enough. And NC State, although not ranked, I like to point out because my dad is an NC State graduate. NC State took care of business against Bill Belichick's North Carolina. Georgia, of course, took care of Georgia Tech, my much improved Georgia Tech team, which I've also seen might be projected into the college football playoff. That would do the state of Georgia really proud. And then Richard did mention Lane Kiffin.
Yes.
Departing Ole Miss for LSU. And my bold prediction is that people in Ole Miss are going to hate Lane Kiffin forever the way LSU people hate Nick Saban. Because you might remember back in the day after winning a national championship with LSU, Nick Saban left LSU for the Miami Dolphins to get out of his LSU contract. And then next year signed with Alabama, and the rest was history. And believe me, his name is like it's like the language of Mordor in Baton Rouge to say Nick Saban. So I'm sure that the language of Mordor is to say Lane Kiffin in Oxford, Mississippi these days. So interesting stuff. All right, Chuck, how about the American Conference?
Well, Sam, we had some good games this past weekend. Real curb stomp battle, the Tulane-Charlotte contest. Tulane taking that 27-0. Yeah, it was something. While at another curb stomp battle in the South Florida Rice game with South Florida taking it 52-3. Yeah, so that was another big win, I would say. Elsewhere, had the Tulsa UAB game. That was a closer contest, ending in a 31-24 UAB victory. Another curb stomp battle was the East Carolina-Florida Atlantic game with a 42-3 East Carolina win.
Yeah. And I know there were also some other important games that happened on Thanksgiving night. Navy was in a must-win to stay in contention for the American Conference Championship game by playing at Memphis. And Navy took care of business. I got to say, I watched the entire game, 28-17 final. Some key takeaways that I hope the Army staff, which I'm sure they are, is paying attention to, is that Navy still has a penchant for running that fake punt, exactly like the one they ran against Army, where the defensive tackle caught the snap and ran untouched down the left sideline. This time it actually got called back for a holding penalty, but it was very reminiscent of last year's Army-Navy game. And Navy, who trailed 2017 at the half, managed to take control of the game in the second half by methodically running the ball, very similar to how Army runs the ball, only from their Delaware wing tee. And it really frustrated Memphis. The other one was North Texas against Temple. This was my upset special last week, if y'all recall. Temple needed a victory in order to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2019. And that being said, I thought that Temple would take advantage of the emotional turmoil that must be going on in Denton, Texas, with North Texas's coach announcing he has accepted the Oklahoma State job. But that's not what happened. North Texas literally rolled Temple. I forget what the score was, but it wasn't even close. So like almost 50-14. And the combination of North Texas winning and Tulane winning, as Chuck mentioned, means that Navy, with an identical conference record to Tulane and North Texas, unfortunately, the odd team out by the weird tiebreaker rules that exist in the American Conference. Navy does not get an opportunity to go try to earn American Conference championship. This would have been, good news for Army, because it would have been similar to last year when Army played in the American Conference championship and was kind of tired and beat up and had 1 week to prepare for the big game, whereas Navy got 2 weeks of rest and preparation with one aim and one focus, and that was Army, and they took care of business last year, I won't deny. So Navy is not going to the American Conference Championship. They get a bye week just like Army does. And so now the singularity of purpose is that, hey, Army Navy has arrived, and all that entails. And you're going to hear nothing but, Army beat Navy, although you hear it all year. You're really going to hear that stuff in the next 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now, just like you're going to hear the yapping and carrying on from the Squids, as they always like to yap and carry on the way they do. But there is some additional American Conference news. There's a high turnover rate of American Conference coaches. So I'll just make mention of that real quick, because, it definitely applies to this discussion, and it applies to Army for real. And it will have major implications next year on each of the teams that Army may or may not be facing. For one, Memphis's coach has departed, or he is departing. And I believe he is going to, I should have had this stuff written down. Well, he's leaving. I can't remember if he's the one that's going to Virginia Tech. I already mentioned North Texas's coach is headed to Oklahoma State. Tulane's coach is going to be the new coach of Florida. So he's going to be trying to get the Gators going again. And South Florida's coach is also departing. And I'll be doggone. Richard, do me a favor and just take a quick look and see where South Florida's coach is headed, and confirm for me where Memphis's head coach is headed.
Okay.
They both are departing.
Let's see. Alex Golish, he is heading to, let's see, he's heading to Auburn.
Oh, that's right. Yes, South Florida. I should know that.
Yeah,
I'm in Alabama.
Yes.
He's going to Auburn.
And
Yeah.
who's the other team you said?
Memphis's coach.
Memphis.
It's not Virginia Tech, because I realize that Franklin from Penn State is going to Virginia Tech. So where's the Memphis coach going?
Let's see. Ryan Silverville being replaced by now Reggie Howard. Ryan Silverfield is heading to Arkansas.
Yes, Arkansas. Right.
He was 50 and 25 at Memphis.
Yes, he was. So this is big. This is a big turnover rate of some of the best coaches in the American Conference moving forward. One other coaching change that I'm going to make mention, this is a coaching change that didn't happen, and that is Drew Cronick, who is Navy's offensive coordinator, the person who pioneered the Delaware Wing T in Annapolis. He was offered, from what I understand, the head coaching job at UAB, Alabama Birmingham, and he turned it down to stay at Navy. So, kudos to him for being loyal to the team and being focused on keeping the job rolling there at Squidville. So big coaching changes. Fortunately, none of these affect Army. And none of these are rumor mills that are floating around about Monken. This is probably the fewest rumor mill of Monken of any season that I remember in a few years. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we stay that way. All right. So there's one other thing that I want to mention before we close out with any final thoughts we might have, and that is the American Conference All Conference team that was announced today. And Army actually has 4 players that were mentioned in the American Conference All Conference tiers. On the first team, you've got Brady Small, the center, was named first team center on American Conference offense All Conference team. Andon Thomas, who is one of the team captains and the leading tackler on the Army team, was named to the second team defense for American Conference. Jack Bosom, the sophomore defensive tackle for Army that leads the team in sacks and is a real rising star among the Army defenders on the defensive line, was named the third team. And then Casey Larkin was an honorable mention on. So I would like to say congratulations to all of those players for earning that honor of being mentioned as of being among the best in the entire conference at your position, for everything that you have accomplished, you continue to accomplish, and the leadership that you provide to the team. So congratulations to all of you, and to Casey Larkin. We're our best and prayers to you to be 100% for the Navy game, and anyone else on the Army team who may have a ding here or a bang there or a bruise here. We hope that you get yourself, Briggs Bartosh, get yourself healed up and back on the field in time for December 13th and ready to do some damage. So, all right. Any other comments anyone might have? We normally at this point we do a lightning round, but actually, Richard, before we go, this coming weekend actually is conference championship weekend.
Yes.
That's correct. So, Richard, tell us about some of the conference championship games.
Yes,
and which ones you'll be watching.
Certainly, which ones I will be watching this weekend as we go through, obviously, as we go through the conference championship games. The Sun Belt Conference will have Troy 8-4 taking on number 25 James Madison. Kennesaw State 9-3 will be taking on Jacksonville State in the Conference USA Championship. That's also at 7 o'clock. North Texas number 24 and number 22 Tulane. The American Athletic Conference Championship. North Texas is 11-1. Tulane is 10-2. Simultaneously, at the same time, is the Mountain West Conference Championship between UNLV 10-2 and Boise State, which is 8-4. Saturday, and let's see. Saturday is the Big 12 Conference Championship. Number 11 BYU 11-1 and number 4 Texas Tech 11-1. Miami of Ohio and Western Michigan for the MAC Championship. Miami 7-5, Western Michigan 8-4. The Southeast Conference Championship. Number 3 Georgia and number 9 Alabama. And the Big 10 Championship has number 2 Indiana 12-0 and Ohio State also 12-0. And Saturday night, 8 o'clock, is the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship. The Duke Blue Devils taking on number 17 West Virginia.
Virginia.
The ACC Championship, Duke taking on number 17 Virginia.
There you go. Yep. Chuck, which of those games you won't be watching?
Definitely the Duke Virginia battle. I can tell you that should be a tough battle. Yeah, and stick around for that.
Yeah,
No,
that's a unique matchup for the Atlantic Coast Conference, a conference that has been dominated by teams like Clemson and Miami in years of late. To have Duke and Virginia in the conference championship is makes it almost, to me, worth watching. And let's not forget that Virginia's quarterback he was North Texas's quarterback last year before he entered the portal and went to Virginia. So, and he's having a fantastic season. Of course, down here in Alabama, we'll 100% have on the Georgia Alabama game. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to be taking a particular interest in watching the American Conference Championship game because of the fact that this is our conference, number one. And number two, it is a conference championship game in which both coaches, head coaches of both teams, are leaving. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, number one. And number two, it'll be interesting to see if the winner of the American Conference Championship game actually can get into the college football playoff. I think as of right now, they're projecting Tulane has the best possibility of getting into the college football playoff if they win. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like North Texas is going to take this game. So we'll see what happens in this one.
Yeah.
But it'll be another great weekend of college football. It just will not be a week in which we'll be watching Army football because Army, of course, is getting ready for the game with everything on the line, the Commander-in-Chief Trophy, winner take all in Baltimore, Maryland on December 13th, and we will be addressing that in the huddle. Any other final thoughts that we might have about tonight or this past weekend's game or anything else in Army land?
Well, Sim, I do think very impressive that four of the Black Knights got American Conference honors. Certainly an impressive trek for Brady Small. Started 37 consecutive games, second straight year, all conference first team. So I think that's definitely worth a mention.
Yes, it is, and very well put. I appreciate the stats there, Chuck. And as Stephanie and I mentioned after the Temple game, we actually got a chance to meet Brady Small over at the players' parents' tailgate in F lot, and he is quite a gracious, very respectful kid. He's a giant of a kid, but just what a fantastic young man he really is, and how much we know he hustles on the field. I believe that he is a kid who's going to find himself playing in the pros pretty soon here. So my final thoughts, actually, Stephanie, you have any final thoughts? I was actually going to just give a couple of quick final thoughts about our interaction with the players' parents and things like that happened this past weekend, because it was really it was a great opportunity.
Truly, it was an amazing weekend. I actually got to meet, our Patriot Award winner this weekend as well, thanks to his dad introducing me to his whole family, his two daughters, his wife. That was really cool. We didn't even realize we were checking into the team hotel till we saw every employee wearing an Army shirt. And we're just like, I think this is the team hotel. And so we got to see the team arrive. While Sam went to do some paperwork for a upcoming interview, I went down and I was just sitting there and I was watching them set up all the keys, the table to all the keys, and but after the players got there, they all looked really tired. But Mr. Cale Helms, he looked exhausted. But it seemed like he perked up when we were like, Kale, you look tired. And he was like, hey, and gave us a hug. And it was truly awesome. I do know that I had posted something because a mom had asked me to do something for her. And he was one of the first two players to just book it after he got his key because he didn't want any of his team members to see what his mom had me write down on his card.
Yeah. So, yeah, Stephanie's right. We arrived at the hotel. Didn't even realize that it was the team hotel. I maybe could have made an educated guess before we got there, just because because I know the brand hotel that Army normally books at for the team hotel. But the number of players, parents that over the course of this season that we have gotten to know it was strengthened immensely this past weekend because we really appreciated the time that we spent. The wagon sellers, as always, they're such a wonderful couple. And both of their sons on Friday night at the hotel, we sat with them and both James and the older son, who's a helicopter pilot in the Army Reserve,
Robert.
and Robert, and is going to grad school now out in California. The Larkins, what an incredible couple. And we first met them before the Temple game. We got to spend a lot of time with them this past weekend, and on Sunday, after we ate brunch, we were at the Minger Hotel. The Minger Bar is an old bar. It is where Teddy Roosevelt formed his Rough Riders for the Spanish American War, and I wanted to show Stephanie the bar, and I was like, come on. And I was showing her everything, and her son Liam, and we walked into the bar. I was showing him everything, and then I looked to the end of the bar and I said, hey, there's two Army fans sitting there. Hey, wait, it's the Larkins. So we got to visit with the Larkins for a while longer, and that was really great. And of course, seeing the Academy leadership as always, spending time with the soup, both at the hotel and at the tailgate, just some casual conversations that you don't really see when they're actually up there on the stage and they're giving their pep talk and stuff like that. But they're real, and Theo and his wife, they're real givers and true. They don't just talk a big talk; they walk a big walk, and they care deeply about the Army family. The Army family that is more than just the players. It is the families of the players. It is the fans themselves. It is the grads and the grads' families. And they go way out of their way, always, to spend time uh, listening to you, talking to you, getting to know you, and just being a friend and being a real person instead of someone who's just in a very important position with the Army team. So it just was a fabulous, weekend. And we really do hope to be able to spend more time with the players' families and the faculty and the coaches, the Academy leadership, the Army athletic staff, and people like that coming up for the Army Navy game next Friday, and Saturday. Next Friday be the gala, and then Saturday will be the big game. So what a wonderful family we have. And I do want to make one last plug for anyone who sees that, and that is today is Giving Day, and the Army fundraiser for Giving Day is ongoing, and you still have the opportunity to get online right now, make a contribution to your favorite team among the Army athletics, and leave them a note of appreciation for everything that they do upon the fields of friendly strife. All right. Any other closing comments?
Go Army, beat Navy.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yes, and enjoy the bye week, and then beat Navy.
Yes, indeed. Yes, definitely. It is 100% go Army, beat Navy time. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. We apologize about the late live stream. I know that the live stream came on about halfway through our broadcast, but the entire thing has been recorded, so our entire broadcast will be reloaded on so that everyone can enjoy, and we'll have the link up for everyone to see. So with that, we represent CamMVetsMedia. CamMVetsMedia meaning the cadets, the midshipmen, and the military and the veterans. Stephanie, how long have we been around?
It's 2008.
Since 2008, that's right. And we proudly spend time making sure that we share with you the good news about Army West Point athletics, and in this glorious time of year, of course, Army football. So we want to thank all of you for joining us, and hopefully we've been able to share something that was enlightening, something that maybe triggered you to be even a bigger fan for Army football, and be ready for the big week next week, because we will be back next week, and it is the week of the year that we cannot that we cannot wait for. Every year the countdown starts. So if the game is December 13th, the next countdown will start on December 14th. So by this time next week, we'll be talking about the Army-Navy game. We may have some special guests. And in addition, we should know by the next huddle who Army will be playing and in what bowl game. And we'll look forward to having some chat about that too. So with that, good night, everybody, and go Army, beat Navy.